Good evening, everyone, and welcome to your latest therapy session supporting this club. It's the This Is Ibrox Sunday night podcast. I'm joined by Tommy, fresh off his first appearance last week. Tommy, how are you?
I don't know how to answer that. Not great. Not great.
Yeah, that's not the only one. Let's just put it that way. And of course, JB, again, a regular here in this therapy couch. So how are you doing?
Yeah, not so bad. I'm still a believer that Rangers is a social experiment that's been sent. Somebody somewhere is analysing us just to see how far they can push us. But yeah, let's get into this over the hour and see if we're still here at the end.
Yeah, I was going to say it's an hour, but we've got a lot to pack into that hour. We'll try our best to get through it. Please get your comments in. I'm pretty sure a lot of us are going to be feeling the exact same just now, particularly after the news this afternoon that Russell Martin is not going anywhere for the time being. Again, like most people, I'm sure, don't really understand that myself, but we'll get there. So obviously, main focus from today is the game yesterday, Hearts. Tommy, I'll come to you first. I know you were at the game. Just very generic, what did you think of, I don't want to say the performance because it was obviously terrible, but the whole aspect of the performance? Was it a surprising one? Was it as bad as people are saying? Just have a few minutes to rant. Go for it.
I think obviously if we start at the very beginning, the team lines come out and straight away we see it's the same team that started against Celtic. So you're thinking, is it going to be the same game plan? Is it going to be the same energy that we had? And I touched on it a couple of weeks ago, like it was good to see that we had a bit of energy back against Celtic, but are we going to do that when it isn't that occasion? And obviously the first 45 minutes, first of all, summed it up. There was a few things that obviously annoyed me for the duration of the game. Obviously, Hearts were the better team. The things that were working well against Celtic, we seemed to not do. So I was confused as to why we then played the same team but didn't play the same way, if that makes sense. So yet again, a big point as well is trying to fit Mikey Moore into the team, and by doing that, we're pushing Gassam out to the wrong wing, and we see in the second half what Gassam's about, and we could have had that against Ralston last 2 weeks ago. Overall, I mean, the toxicity in the stadium as well was just, I don't think I've ever seen it that bad. Almost to a point I actually maybe felt bad for Martin a wee bit, the chance and obviously I want him gone as well, but I mean, that was brutal, but I suppose it was deserved as well, based on what we saw, because that is one of the worst performances I've probably ever seen from us. There was nothing there. There was nothing there whatsoever.
Yep, and JB will sort of focus on that a little bit to start. Obviously, that first half, as Tommy says, was shockingly bad. I think the Hearts goal was coming for about 10 minutes before it actually arrives. They've got plenty of half chances, and they just look far more threatening than we do, having nothing. Were you feeling that same sort of anxiety from the stands before the goal even goes in?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think Tuesday, Wednesday, I don't know about you guys, but I was really looking forward to the weekend. Almost as if, I don't know whether it was because the players had a good international break, some of the key guys, a couple of new signings to kind of look forward to. So it was almost like, right, this is I hate using the word, this is a reset. And then the Raskin news broke, and then it was almost just like, oh, why again? Like, why couldn't he just come back into the squad, go on the bench, come on, and we get 3 points, and then we move on, put the pressure on them today. But no, we can't have it that easy, can we? I think the first half, if you want to just kind of keep on that point, I thought it just looked so laboured. I thought everybody looked weak, everyone looked tired. It was almost a case of, again, as we said for the last few seasons, waiting for somebody to do something. In terms of chances created, it was bare minimal. There was one cut back for Gassam, which he completely missed the ball, which always infuriates me. And then was obviously the Ant-Man effort, the Asgard effort, cross-come shot that obviously caught the bar. I'm still claiming that was a shot, given the fact that Doughty was trying to find Gassam at the back post. And then there was the one for Miofsky, where if we're going to be critical, we may as well get the scatter gun out tonight. I thought he should have done better with that one that came over the top. He seemed to just completely misread it. Now, don't get me wrong, he was feeding on scraps for the whole game. I can't think of one chance he's had in either yesterday or the last game before the break against them. So yeah, it was just I've said it, I think, for every league game now, everything's going the way that you kind of expect it to go, and you hope it doesn't go. And I include the Old Firm in that, in the fact that we didn't. A draw was the worst result that could have happened that day, because if we'd have won, you hope it sparks a little bit of momentum, bit of feel good factor. A defeat, I don't think the manager would have seen the international break, if I'm being perfectly honest. Now you might, because what it does do, it gives the team a chance, the senior team, to then have a chance to go take a breath, make a change, get someone in. There's a free weekend next weekend. There's stuff you can do. How many times do you see the international break change? And so once that kind of came and went, the draw, it was almost a case of, right, buckle up, we'll go again, reset, as I said earlier, and we'll see how we go. But the players just didn't react. I agree with Tommy there in terms of the way that we approached the game was just, it was nowhere near like the intensity that we've seen in the Old Firm. And it's the frustrating thing, it's a different group of players doing the same things that we've seen. So we know we can raise our game in Old Firms, we know we can raise our game in Europe, and it was just pretty much same old, to be honest.
Yep, absolutely. And I think it's a strange one because, like you, I was quite looking forward to the game in the lead up, get the Raskin news, just everything felt quite negative from that point on. Even speaking to guys before the game yesterday, no one was expecting like a good win, not even a win, to be honest. Everyone was kind of expecting the worst. And then when it lands, it just hurts even more, doesn't it? So I want to kind of fly through the game a little bit because obviously we've got a lot to talk about Russell Martin-wise and what he said after the game. But Tommy, if we focus in on a couple of little points, obviously second half is better. It's maybe a bit generous saying it was good, but it was better. A couple of half chances here and there, but still never really quite threatening. Did you ever really feel like we would get a goal other than the one that gets ruled out? And we'll absolutely come on to that, don't worry. But did you ever feel like we were imposing ourselves on the game enough?
No, like generally no. Like, and I just miss the days when Hearts at home was a banker. You know, and now you're not even sure if you're going to be beating them. The second half was improved, right? But it kind of felt like Bruges, right? Where the first half was so bad, and the second half is kind of like hope ball, where it's like give the ball to Gassam and hope that he does something, and if he doesn't, well, nothing's gonna happen because nothing else comes from anything other than him having a run at people. And when he switched to the left, it was the same as we saw against Bruges. It's just hope ball. It's literally he's in there at half time saying give Gassam the ball and we'll see what happens. And that's all I see from the team. I don't see anything. I wasn't sitting there saying, "Oh, a goal's coming." You know, I didn't have that feel to the game whatsoever. If anything, I did feel like we were probably going to concede again. If anything, they weren't as attacking in the second half, but they still had a bit about them.
Yeah,
they didn't even have to be good yesterday. You know, like I'm sure Hearts will go on to have a good season, but they didn't even have to be good yesterday. They could have been just 50% of what they can give, and they probably would have still beat us, you know. But the second half was only just a minor improvement. It's still not a positive because it's still so substandard of what we expect, you know. It was just better than what was so bad.
Yeah, it's almost like the expectation is below zero. So anything that's half decent, you're suddenly going, oh, maybe there's something there.
Somebody takes a player on, we're doing good. Like it's just that's what it felt like. That's how low we are.
The perfect example of that for me is that Chermiti comes on at some point, has a nice first touch and lays it off and gets fouled. And I thought, oh, that's good. And I thought to myself, why am I praising the absolute bare minimum or something like that's how clinging to straws we're being at here. JB, if I can try and focus in on some of these problems. Again, we will come on to Martin because I know he is a big part of what's going on here. But player-wise, there's certainly more than one issue in terms of just that starting 11 yesterday, particularly I thought McHoma, who's done well for us. I think he's been a bit better than anyone expected without being great at any point. But having Mikey Moore, especially down the left, just for me, look, I don't want to say wee boys, but they looked their age a little bit against taller, more physical players who just flung them off the ball. Would you share that sad analogy?
Yeah, pretty much. I think it was almost a case of the pair of them are coming with big hopes, haven't they? I mean, Magoma less likely. I mean, the fact that we've been prepared to go through the first half of the season, at least with just him as our first choice left back, is quite damning. I think in terms of it was quite clear at the start of the window that Jeffrey and Yilmaz were in the plans, or they were looking to actively move them on. We got really good money for Jeffrey. That was probably seen as a bit of a bonus, I'd imagine, behind the scenes. So to run with Magoma, who I think's actually done okay. I agree with you, Ian. His Rangers career started okay without being too spectacular. He strikes me as a good young backup at this stage, but we've got to run with him. There was times where he put himself into situations that he didn't need to in terms of physical encounters. I think he's quite quick, but he doesn't seem to use that pace when he's in possession of the ball.
Yeah.
He uses it out of possession really well, gets back into position quickly. But but again, it's men's football. He hasn't played a lot of it. He's not used to guys that are probably carrying a few extra stone at him, just give him the elbow, give him that little bit of experience. He's used to playing against kids. And again, that's one of the challenges you're going to get when you attack that type of player. And then more in front of him, I just thought, yeah, I agree. He was in the old firm, and I thought you give him the benefit of the doubt because he's a young lad. I think he'd only turned 18 the week before, and you go, right, there's something there. He's a bit of a coup. There's no doubt the kid obviously has ability. It's just a case of we haven't seen it yet, and he's coming into an environment that is absolutely toxic. So one thing Tottenham will get is a little bit of resilient training. We're definitely giving them that. But I just think it's not what we need right now in terms of that squad. And I think it is just the case of Russell Martin's looked at that last performance and gone, that worked well, that worked okay. Let's just see if we can do it, but add a little bit more quality and a little bit more confidence. But it just didn't react at all. I say if you're getting the scats gone out, you can literally go through the full 11. I thought other than Jack Butland again, he was really unlucky with the penalty. I think the first goal it was a really good finish. I mean, while we're there, we may as well address the handball incident. It was quite interesting to hear. Was it Shankland in his post match on Hearts TV said I didn't think it was going to be allowed because it hit my arm. And you can see I think there's a few things doing the rounds in X now saying it's good. It was handball. It was handball.
Yeah, as he's celebrating, he's telling his
celebrating,
teammates calm down, it's a handball.
Don't get too excited. So at least it wasn't just us. And I watched the Hearts TV highlights back. Managed to stumble across it on YouTube or something, and it was extended highlights, and their media team was saying there's no way he's going to get away with that, Lawrence. And even the other instance that we'll get to throughout the game, the Hearts TV were like, "Well, we got away with another one there. That's 3 we've got away with today." And again, and I don't sign up for this. I'm not one of the conspiracy theorists. I just think it's really, really poor officiating. It happens throughout the country. That's happening throughout the country. You look at the St Mirren, the Hibs game yesterday. The handball incident there was ridiculous, and the boy got sent off. And you just go, where are they getting these fellas from? But it is what it is. But back to the squad, I thought Tavernier. We all know his best things. His best ability is going forward. Doesn't seem to offer us anything going forward now in this the new layout. I thought Dijiga looked really uncomfortable. I was actually speaking to somebody that actually bumped into him in Amsterdam of all places over the weekend. He was flying back from his international duty, where I don't think he actually got off the bench, but I think he had like 7 or 8 flights to get back. 7 or 8 flights over that week period between playing Egypt and playing somebody else in the arsehole of Africa. So then had to then get back. Didn't think he was going to be playing, was the quote he said. And then has obviously then been thrown straight back into what was then naturally the next biggest game of the season. So he never looked comfortable at any point. Wasn't surprised he came off at half time. Suter, I just thought, looked yards off aggression. He just seems to stand and wait. There was an instant, I was watching Sports Scene this morning where you see Braga drops off 5 yards to get a touch, and Suter doesn't go with him. There's no kind of hunger to try and go and be aggressive. And you compare that to the Hearts players with Miovski. Miovski didn't get an inch yesterday. They were up his arse. They were cutting in front of him. They were in his back. Our centre halves just like to observe games and don't like to actually do the dirty stuff, which is petrifying. I thought Barron was all over the place. He just looked lost. Again, young lad, probably being a bit caught up in the atmosphere. Diamandi, as you guys touched on the Ganser yesterday, was very much he's just a nothing player at times. After, again, you guys called it in terms of the performance the other day. Asgard's the only bright spark, and I hope there's no Scouse bias shining through. But even just not just his performance, But I thought also you've seen some of the stuff after the game. Last guy off the
Attitude as
pitch,
well, hasn't it? Yeah.
talking to fans after the game, kind of saying it's not acceptable and stuff. And we know we need to do better. Now we know that, everyone knows that. Do you know what I mean? But that was it. And then Gassama and Moore, I thought, was starved in the first half. Gassam come into it in the second half, like he did against Dundee. It's almost like left wings, the position he played most of his football. That's where he played for PSG. That's where he played for Sheffield Wednesday. And then we punt him on the right wing, and he just doesn't look comfortable at all. And then Miofsky up front again was starved at that one half chance I just touched on earlier. And it was just a case of, it was kind of the worst version of us. So, and then obviously the subs that come on didn't have much impact, did they? So I will call out for Joseph Rothwell though. I thought his 7-minute cameo was immense, and that was the player we were looking to sign. So we'll look forward to seeing him in pre-season next year after he gets over his injury. But it's just almost it's the perfect storm, isn't it, at the moment, where everything we touch, whether it be signings, whether it be tactics, whether it be the manager, whether it be refereeing decisions, player ability, individual errors, which just, what a time to be alive.
Yeah, it's very cheery as always, aren't we? There's a few comments that came through there I want to highlight that just sort of reiterate what you're saying here. This one from Luke Gibson I think is important because, we touched on Mikey Moore, and we're not going to sit and slate an 18-year-old and make it all his fault. It's absolutely not. But he just looked like a man down at times for me yesterday. And that comment right there, holding back Gassama from his perfect position, and Curtis doesn't get on the pitch yesterday. He was actually, you mentioned Asgard after, sort of going over to the fans, and you saw him talking to some fans after as well. Curtis was right behind Asgard, clapping the fans after the game, and the boy didn't even get on. Like that's a mentality thing for me. That's a strong boy trying to at least give something back. He's not even playing the pitch, and it's a guy that we all were quite keen on. One of our few who have scored a goal this season from open play anyway. And, he's not even getting on the pitch. So there's a few problems there. But you with the next couple here. Pete Lawrence saying they got bullied, all too familiar in recent Rangers times. And one from Robert Fisher saying Martin has drained every bit of aggression out of this team. I don't think we had much to start with, but a Russell Martin team, we were worried it would be a bit soft, a bit easy to play against. And, 5 domestic games in, we have been very weak all across the pitch. Easy to score into us, and we can't get through teams to score. It's quite simple as that, isn't it? It's just a very weak side, front to back.
Yeah, most definitely. I think it's, as you've touched on it there, in terms of the physicality for me is miles away. But the physicality, we have got physical players now. Do you know what I mean? I mean, I know we're gonna probably get onto some of the signing stuff and the Thelwell stuff later on. But you've got we're crying out for physicality. Yet we've got a lad who's 6'7", bouncing around New Edmondson House with Broxy Bear, and a boy we paid $3.5 million to Peterborough for. Do you know what I mean? Like, what's that all about? Do you know, like, who's identified that this young lad can come in at $3.5 million and make an impact? If you think that there's the best guts of like 15 million spent on 2 players that like other teams really don't want, and for kind of good reason. So it's Buffalo Albert, great name. It's just said there in terms of the price tag that's on. It's not the kid's fault in terms of the price tag, but this team's crying out for physicality, and it was crying out for it yesterday. And you just wonder in terms of where we go from here, in terms of does he change it? Will he change anything? I say we haven't focused too much on the manager, because I think the players do deserve criticism for yesterday. There's no point in getting away from that. The players have deserved criticism for pretty much for most of the season. The manager has got his faults, and we'll get to him. And I think everybody, I haven't met a Rangers fan, to be honest. In fact, there's one in our supporters club actually who's still backing him, but I won't name his name for legal reasons. But it's almost a case of we need to do something different quickly. But the players really need to have a long look at themselves, because they're not. At some point, you go, balls to this. I'm going to be aggressive. I'm going to get in people's faces. I'm going to run. I'm going to close down. It's the basics that they're not doing. And if you just look at the Hearts players yesterday, and the sports scene analysis yesterday just absolutely nailed it. We're just so nice to play against. And teams that work hard will get success against this team. Now, when we come up against teams who work hard and have got genuine high levels of ability, like when we come up in Europe, it's going to be horrific. It's going to be Southampton Premier League stuff. So, yeah, as I say, the players, but on the flip side, that sometimes the players do just want to put themselves in the shop window, as we said for the last few years. So Europe might take care of itself, but it didn't against Bruges in that second leg, did it? So, yeah, let's. There's got to be some positive we can talk about. I'm trying to think, other than Rothwell's 7 minutes, I'm really struggling.
I don't think there's anything positive
Yeah,
about it
I think
whatsoever.
yeah, in terms of balance, though, if you want to try and spin it a little bit in terms of yesterday, if that Cornelius goal doesn't get disallowed, if the Shankland handball doesn't happen, if the penalty situation doesn't happen, and I know you might turn around and go, that's the least of our problems, but if these, we need momentum, we need something, a spark, we need something to grab onto, we need a little bit of luck. It's all out at the moment, as I said earlier, that perfect storm piece. I don't know if you want to go through what them incidents one by one, but they were horrendous. Do you know what I mean? And again, back to the standard of refereeing. You've seen it again today. In the game on Sky Sports, it was some of the stuff that's going on. You just kind of go, is this really happening? But yeah, it's wild.
I do, Tom. I was going to come to you with the refereeing calls because in the stadium, I didn't know how bad they were. Obviously, we didn't get many replays. Game wasn't on telly. Obviously, just get them quickly. So took till today, see each one through. I think they're absolutely wild, to be honest. If I go through them one by one, I'll let you kind of chip in at them. But the handball we've touched on slightly, so we won't cover that. But if we look at the disallowed goal, I know your thoughts anyway, but just share with the group. It's a scandalous decision, isn't it?
In real time, when that ball's in the air, my first thought is there's a foul coming, because that's just always what we see, isn't it? That goalkeepers are overly protected in that situation.
I think the ref thinks that too, to be honest. I think that may be part of the problem. Is it clear and obvious? But yeah,
when that ball is in the air, that's when I kind of think, right, we're going to foul, right? And it's weak goalkeeping, I think. I mean, Asgard backs into him more than anything. Maybe a little bit of a hand up, but the goalkeeper isn't strong enough. As a goalkeeper, you should be overpowering a player by going above him, to reach out and get that ball. I don't think Asgard does anything wrong other than really standing his ground. So, is it one of the ones that is, if the ref gives it, it's not overturned? Is it one of the ones because the ref disallowed it, they don't see enough in it to overturn it? I don't know. I'm not really sure. For me, it's a goal. And like JB said earlier, he heard on the Hearts TV commentary that, they were probably saying similar, and that's coming from them. So I think it would be interesting when we get the ref view back, when they do the audio
VAR review.
Of the VAR review. It would be nice to see how they justify it.
I don't. You wonder if they'll show all three.
I think they have to, don't they? Because they go through, obviously the decisions that are, the
I mean, they've had a busy weekend, to be fair. As JB said, Hibs game yesterday, the game today. There's got a busy show, that one. Yeah.
I think the first one, the handball one, I mean, I don't think anybody will argue that it's a handball. Everybody knows that is a handball. So was the decision because of the time between handball to then goal? Is that what chops the goal off? And I think you said earlier, Ian, it's a handball and then the jigger kind of headers it a little bit. So does that reset
that's this comment here I was going to bring up from Davey H. The VAR rule is, and to be honest, I've lost complete track of what is and isn't handball these days in all ways. But shouting handball can only be disallowed if the player who scores benefits directly from the handball. So because the play's moved on, and Tom, you made a great point before we went live and we were chatting about this, that goal last season where there's a foul on the Celtic player, it goes through, and Tom Lawrence, a couple of seasons ago, sorry, and Tom Lawrence eventually scores. Obviously, a lot of changes can happen and rules can change here and there, but it's pretty similar, and yet we don't get that one. Hearts do get it. It's just, as we've said already, the inconsistency is off the charts. If we then move on to the penalty call, again, it was quite close to where I was. I thought at the time it might be a penalty, just the way I'm kind of aerial view over it. You see Diomande come across him, but look at replays, I'm not too sure. Again, Tommy, what do you think of that one?
obviously at the time I was governed front at the other end of the park, so it's hard to see. But it was when I've watched it back in slow mo. Diamandi puts a leg out, right? I don't think you can deny that, but he doesn't touch him. I think his foot goes kind of to the side of the player's foot. I don't know why it's not one that the ref is going to the monitor to review rather than just straight up factually saying, yeah, that was a foul, give the
He didn't go to the
penalty.
monitor once yesterday, did he? For any of the three?
No,
Even the handball, he gets told, no.
No, he didn't. Yeah, they were just all kind of like that. That's the decision. I don't. I don't want to complain too much about decisions as well because obviously I think Hearts deserve to win. So I don't think I don't think the referee impact that yesterday. You know, I think the fair result was that they won, but I think
we would have stole it if we had somehow got a goal and got a point out of that. That would have been robbery. So this is not like referee's corner to try and say, "Oh, we were cheated here."
Yeah.
It's just
if we had played well yesterday and got beat like that, then I would be complaining about the decisions more. But I think all three of them, I actually think they got wrong, really, to be honest. Like, when looking at them back, I feel like they got them wrong. But I feel like, at the same time, there's something in every single one of them to probably justify it, you know, when they do the VAR reviews or whatever. So there won't be much scrutiny over it. You'll get Willie Collum coming out and saying, right decision, you know, like, so they'll justify it. They'll justify it. But again, we need to be so much better than relying on referee decisions as well. So that's where I'm at with that as well. So I don't want to get overly dragged into it, but I did think it was a poor performance from the ref.
Just for that, I mean, there's actually an angle of the boy going down on the Hearts TV. I don't know why BBC have conveniently not showed it. There was an angle where he actually went down, where he goes down. Diamandi does catch his second foot, so his back foot. Right. He catches it, but he's already on the way down. You know what I mean? So it didn't have an impact. So surely that can't be given. And it was quite interesting. Remember the outcry when Butland was fouled last year, and they were saying, "Oh, that should have been allowed because contact was minimal." It was at Motherwell, where the ball went over and Butler made an arse of it. We got the free kick on the day, and they said, "Oh, that should have been turned around." I don't think we'll see the same outcome, but I think we've put ourselves, because of such a poor performance yesterday, we're putting ourselves into situations where these things, there's no point in highlighting them. They should be highlighted because, again, the better the referees get, the better for the game overall. As I said earlier, the only thing with the ref watch, it's another month away. Do you know what I mean? So in terms of, if you think about this weekend, there's probably 4 or 5 incidents. I mean, there's two in the game today, 3 in the game yesterday. Do you know what I mean? You can kind of go on all. It needs to turn into a weekly show. Probably be a better thing, but I do. I mean, you won't hear me say this often. I think I said this a couple of times last season. I praise Willie Collum for that show because it would be quite easy just to become a faceless numpty. He's just a numpty now instead of a faceless one. But it's almost a case of, at least it kind of gives people that bit of education. It was interesting though hearing Kettlewell this afternoon, aired on Sky Sports. He was basically saying they were told in pre-season 8 weeks ago, whatever it was, that these type of decisions wouldn't be given at such close proximity, and the power of the close proximity, and if it deflects off a player, which I think Colin touched about in this month's show as well. So I think there's just a load of refereeing decisions flying about at the moment. They're just horrific, but as we always do, we've got to look at ourselves in the mirror first. I do, from a Russell Martin perspective, though. If you think about a guy who's really desperate at the moment and clinging on to anything, there's 3 massive incidents there that have gone against them, and we've hit the woodwork a couple of times. So as much as we say Hearts were the better side, they were great. I don't think they were that great. I don't recall Jack Butland making a save. Someone might correct me. There might have been something there, but other than the penalty,
no. Anyway, two
of the shots. I think they had 4 shots on target. 2 of them were the penalty instance, and the other one was the other goal. So I don't think Hearts actually played that well. They just played us well.
They didn't need to, but did they? That's what Tommy was saying earlier.
It was
a professional job. I tried to touch on yesterday. I feel like Hearts are probably the best team we've played in the league, and obviously Celtic are better than Hearts. I don't mean that way, but in terms of what they brought to the table, that kind of hard work with a bit of quality. But I don't think they were great.
It was like us in Europe. Do you know what I mean? In terms of when we've gone to some really good sides in Europe and we've made them look bang average, and we've been clinical and took our chances. It kind of felt a little bit like that for me.
I think that performance yesterday is on the back of 14-day preparation as well. That's what worries me. That's 14 days worth of preparation for that. That's what I just can't get my head around. Like, what were they doing? What are they getting told to do in training? I
No,
just don't.
they're great in training. Don't worry. We'll
I,
come to that. Don't worry.
I just don't get it.
I know. I'm just going to list off some random facts that I've taken down here. And by all means, keep the comments coming, please, guys. Your likes and subscribes always go a long way as well. But that's now 101 days of Russell Martin since he was announced. We've had 12 competitive games, 3 wins in that time, which were 2 in Europe and 1 to Alloa in the Cup. 5 league games, of course, 4 draws and a loss. That's the kind of obvious one we'll talk about. 10th in the league. Second lowest scorers in the league, which I don't think has been brought up too often. And it's our worst start domestically in about 50 odd years now. So, JB, how is this guy still in a job? There's the $1 million question we're all looking for at this point.
Pass. We can pass that one to the new guy. No, I think in terms of, I could only assume there's nobody lined up. There's nothing there where they've gone. There's no contingency. There doesn't seem to be anybody within the club that you could hand the reins to. I'm not handing it to this fella from Gateshead, Mike Williamson. He's not getting a look in. The other guy who seems like a really nice guy, can't think of his name at the moment, the assistant manager. He's not getting let. He's not. You're not putting him in charge. I couldn't tell you who's in charge of the B team now, so we haven't got that structure within the club.
Stevie Smith is the most senior coach. Yeah,
Stevie Smith. I mean, God, Jesus. I wouldn't. There's kind of nothing we can do quickly. I don't think. Straight away, there's reaction. Barry and team. Will Barry and team putting themselves through that again? Is it worth it for them? These guys left their jobs at the end of the day, and some of them, whether it be football analysts, whether it be coaching in other places or privately, they left all of that last year. And we're then told, right, thanks for your efforts. Which, right, don't get me wrong, rightfully, I wouldn't have been giving them the job last season. We can all give Barry Ferguson and the team the job now. In hindsight, I think that's an easy thing for us all to do. But that is it them? I do wonder. There's got to be conversations being had in terms of what the next approach is, and it just feels as if there's either nobody available at the moment who the clubs foresee is the right thing to do, or it's which is probably even more worrying, they don't know what to do between whether it be Thelwell, whether it be the Patrick Stewart, whether it be obviously then your Americanos. I'm not expecting Andrew Kavanagh and McGath to be bouncing and making footballing decisions. That's where your Thelwells and team need to be ready and kind of have your next guy lined up, whether it be temporary or permanent. Yeah, to your original question, why is he still here? Absolutely no idea. I think on a human level, you've got to take him out of it. Do you know what I mean? But then on the flip side, he's a big boy. If he thinks that this job is too big for him, then he might just need to put his hand up and say, guys, this ain't happening. The players aren't listening. The players aren't articulating on the pitch what we're doing in the training ground, which is what he's told us. And the question is, how long can that go on? Because a few of the guys who we know in the fan media were down at the training centre in St George's, and they all said the training looks really good. The players look sharp. Everyone looks fit. And I can well believe that. Like the fact we've mastered doing wheelbarrows around Murray Park, I think is a sight to behold at times. So, and again, even watching the training drills, we all turn into professional football coaches watching a 7-minute training drill. But training actually does look good. It looks quite sharp. I think since Gerrard came in, I mean, you got to see the training videos kind of up close and personal, if you will. It looks good. The players seem to be enjoying it. There seems to be a good atmosphere in and around the group in these clips. Don't get me wrong, the clip and the best bits, obviously, but you kind of feel as if there is a good atmosphere off the pitch in most quarters. As we know, there's obviously a few other bits going on behind the scenes, but yeah, it's unsustainable. I just don't know. I kind of don't know where we go from here. Do we wait until the next international break? As we've said a couple of times, so it's certainly been on social media, we could be bottom of the league next time when we go into our next league game after 5 games. It's just it's scandalous. Do you know what I mean? And I think in terms of expecting this to turn round, as we said, I've spoke to a few people today, and it was almost a case of he could even go on to win his 20 the next 20 games. If he loses that 21st game, we'll want him out. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's just nothing we can point to. But the fan media lads yesterday in the press conference, I think they thought they'd done fan media proud, to be honest, yesterday, in terms of fan media can get criticised quite a lot in terms of the way that they act and the way that they perform. I think everybody thinks that fan media, including ourselves, are getting backhanders and we're here to say nice things about the club and we don't ask difficult questions. I think that can be shelved for this season. Probably won't be welcome back next year. But I think it's on a human level for Russell Martin, it's horrendous. You know, like nobody should go into the work and have to expect that type of abuse that he must be getting on an hourly and daily basis. Thank God he's not on social media. However, he seems to know quite a lot that nobody wants to hear. So somebody's feeding him social media information. But it just can't last. You know, it's a matter of if rather than when. And yeah, it's good. I'm not going to say it's going to get worse before it gets better, because it can't get much worse. But it's almost like the Mick McCarthy clip. Oh, but
I
it
was going
can.
to say it. Yeah.
We'll have to do that as a thumbnail one week. But he's going into Hibs next week. Hibs must be licking their lips coming up against us next week. It's just going to be the big boy Bowie up top and Martin Boyle just running for fun just in behind. You can see it now. We can see it, but I don't think they can. I don't think the players and the management staff can see it. And yeah, I'm not looking forward to next week, and that's not like me. I'm only counting the minutes.
See if I was a bookmaker, I'd have Hibs as favourite next week. I'd have them as favourites to win. And I'm not even joking. I would straight up have them favourites. I wouldn't back us whatsoever.
No.
Yeah,
no.
I can see why. Absolutely. And I think that kind of raises the question. So, Tommy, 101 days ago, Russell Martin got announced, and we got to go along and obviously speak to him on that first day. And he talked a great game. Don't get me wrong, I was bought in at that point. I thought, oh, this guy knows what he needs, knows how to do it, all this kind of stuff. But we also spoke to Thelwell and Patrick Stewart on that day, who again talked about winning now and how important it was to get off to a good start and bring in the right players. They've obviously not done that, but my fear here, and I want to kind of see if other people think the same, is that there's some big egos kicking about. There's a lot of chat about Russell Martin and his ego, and that's a separate conversation. But do you think it's a case of people, your Stewarts, Thelwells, maybe a couple above that as well, not wanting to admit that they've got this wrong quite so soon, and that's obviously then maybe doing more harm?
Yeah, because by sacking Russell Martin, you are effectively saying to the fans, we got this wrong. Because 100 days, you sack a manager, you are saying we got this wrong. A whole summer process where people went for interview processes that were vigorous, we were told, and he landed the job based on how he can speak and articulate. But they don't want to admit that they got it wrong, and he doesn't want to admit that his system is wrong either by his comments in his interview yesterday. So they're all egotistic, they're all the way that they still believe that this works just proves that you're right, Ian. They are just huge egos. Like they don't want to say they got it wrong, but they should. You should, because like JB says, it's just a ticking time bomb now. He will get sacked this season. He will get sacked. Right, we said the same with Beale. We said the same with Clement. Clement should have got sacked after we got knocked out of the cup. Right, we think we'll stay with him, and then it just continually gets worse, and then he gets sacked. That's the stage Russell Martin's at, where we're saying, right, we're backing him, but the next defeat, we're just back to the same way. So I just, he's got to go. He just has to go. They just have to say, look, we got it wrong, and we would respect that so much more, rather than putting up with it, saying, it'll work, it'll click, it'll come into play, it'll, we just need this and we need that, and things have went against us. I would just respect it if they came out, Russell Martin especially, and just said, this is shit. Like, and we're going to change it, but there's none of that whatsoever.
Yeah, it's very true, because it's almost, it gets to a point that it's kind of insulting in a way. I don't know if that's the right word to use, but look at the stadium yesterday. Like, you can't ignore that noise. We touched on it and sort of try and have a laugh at the whole stadium singing, Russell Martin get to France. But there's a whole stadium singing it. Like that cannot go unnoticed. And Russell Martin obviously mentioned, I'm going to come on his comments in just a second, but he mentioned the fact that some people didn't want him here from the start. I mean, what kind of excuse is that to be trying to give?
But
Let's do that.
I don't like that either, Ian, because he gets the same backing that every manager that comes through the door gets. Okay, you might think that people didn't want my name or whatever, right? But when you came in and we realised that you got the job, you got the same backing that everybody else gets. You get the same support that everybody else gets. So it's just a stupid comment to make.
100%. Just gonna. What I'm going to do is just look at some of the comments in isolation, because it's only a 4-minute press conference he does yesterday. He was very much in, argued with fan media a bit, as JB touched on. And again, as JB said, full credit to the other guys that were in there, because they held him to task, which I think was needed. The response from Russell Martin, I mentioned it yesterday in the post-match, I thought was quite poor. It was very egotistical, I think it has to be said. You know, there's a difference. I would want my manager to be arrogant. I want them to believe that they are the man to do this, that their way is the right way. I don't mind that at all. But if it's going so badly, then it has to be that kind of adaptability in what he does. But JB, something he also touched on was that it's not tactical. It's not a tactics problem at all just now. It's psychological. It's the anxiety of the team. He touched on the fans not really helping that either, which is kind of obvious to say, but I would hope a Rangers player was brought in not to play well when the fans are with you, but had that kind of psychological profile looked at as well. I'm sure I can guess what your thoughts were when he was saying that, but how do you think that came across from him?
Yeah, it just deflection, isn't it? It's desperate. Don't get me wrong. There's probably some truth in it. It's one of them things that you just kind of don't need to say. It's a pointless conversation. We are a demanding fan base. Do you know what I mean? And what first thing we should be doing when we're signing players and say, this is a demanding fan base. Do you know what I mean? How are you going to hold up to that? Do you know what I mean? So again, if you go through that 11 yesterday, Butland's used to it. Tavernier's used to it. Dijiga has played in Belgrade. Do you know what I mean? In terms of if there's going to be an environment, a difficult place to play an environment, it'll be there. Suter should be used to it. Magoma kind of give him pass marks in terms of the environment. Connor Barnes, he's a young lad, but he's been round the block enough now. He's been in some difficult situations, both at Aberdeen and now with us. Diamandi should be used to it. Asgard new to the environment, but was one of the ones that kind of stood up. Gassama, again, some really poor decisions at times. In fact, some really poor decisions since the start of the season. Miofsky, again, we've discussed in terms of his all-round game, and Mikey Moore looks petrified. So, yeah, there is a mixed bag in there in terms of attitude and response, but we're putting these performances in home and away. Do you know what I mean? So is the anxiety when we went to St Mirren the other day, where there was only a couple of thousand Rangers fans, they couldn't handle that? Is that what we're saying? Went to Motherwell, we only had one stand or one and a bit stands. We couldn't handle that.
That's a stand that are backing them as well. Like
people
didn't want Russell Martin, but that crop of away fans in particular, they back the team for 90 minutes regardless. It's just an excuse.
Bruise your way again. Is that mentality? And this club, what we're seeing is the players not working hard enough and not fighting enough and not forcing mistakes from the opposition. That's the bit that's pissing us off. We're not expecting silky, sexy soccer. It's not what we're here for. We're here to win games. We're here to see our team. And he said it when he first come in. I want to create a team that I can be proud of. Russell, are you proud of this team? And if the answer is no, then why not? And you can't just say we're proud of them when they're training. The mentality needs to be driven by the management team. I think that's one of the things that we had with Gerrard. For his faults, and by no means sitting here. I was actually talking to somebody today about in terms of Gerrard was on the edge against Hamilton. And if it wasn't for COVID, probably wouldn't have went on to what he done in terms of he was gone after Hamilton. Do you know what I mean? And then the season pretty much ended not long after that. So again, history can then turn out to be kind, but you kind of knew as we were going through the seasons, he was hurting when we were losing games. He was hurting when we were winning games and not performing well. He was making sure that the players were ready to go into battle. Russell Martin just seems like this guy. The guy, he's just flicking his hair, and obviously might be a bit baldest there, but he's just almost a case of it's all about him and all what can I what can it's the players, because if you think about it, since the Motherwell game, and I think Clinton Morrison, I think it was on Sky Sports, said the warning signs were out for Russell Martin when he slagged the players off after the first game of the season. Now, as a fan, we took that as quite refreshing in the fact that, right, you've called them out, let's see how they react. Well, they never. I think we've had a couple of good European performances. In fact, I'd probably say Pilsen, because Panathinaikos at home was he's being friendly. We were horrific in that first half.
Yeah.
It was almost a case of, if it was a boxer, you were looking to throw the towel in. But then obviously then there was a first goal, sending off, second goal, Ibrox atmosphere carried it through. So 13 games or 12, 13 games you touched on there. I'd say there's been one game we've played well, and that's not on. I mean, Bruges have got some really good players, and there's a hell of a lot of talent in there. That the Rangers teams of the last 4 seasons don't don't turn up like that, don't play like that, don't perform like that, don't fight like that. But this guy's kind of send them out to be like that. So yeah, I can't see where we go.
Yep, there's a good comment here that just came through from James McCowan. There must be rotten apples in the dressing room. Why else do so many managers struggle? Which there was the James Tavernier came out to the press conference yesterday as well, but that was embargoed until lunchtime today, so people may not have caught up with that just yet. But he was asked right at the end of that, just before he was about to leave, whether the players, I think the way, sort of paraphrasing a bit, but do the players in there hate losing? Are they all angry right now? And it was far from a, yeah, they're all raging kind of response. It was very much a, well, the leadership group are trying to tell the players why it's annoying, but you do look through the new signings, you look at Asgard, Gassama, Mikoba, they're all playing for, championship teams where a loss isn't that big a deal. It has to be said. I don't think a loss and a draw down there is quite the circus that becomes up here. If we lose or draw a game, obviously it's a very unique club that we are. But Tommy, do you think we've got a real leadership issue in there? Because that leadership group that's mentioned of what Tav, Suter, Butland, and I think you mentioned Dowell at one point, didn't he? It's not exactly a 4 or 5 people group where you think, oh, there's I can kind of put my hat on them, they'll come through for me kind of thing. Is there a real issue with the squad? It's just too many youngsters right now.
I don't know. Like, is there too many players that don't care enough, about what it means to play for Rangers? Is that what we're seeing? We can talk about winning mentality, but Celtic could go and buy players from the Championship, and they would come up and be winners because they have a winning mentality. So we overall as a club haven't had that since the Gerrard season, really, where we are winners. That is our mentality. We win games. Doesn't matter how we win games, but we win games. I don't know if there's just too many players. Me personally, as a player, if I got beat, when I get beat on a Sunday with my Sunday team, I'm raging. But I don't get paid for that. They're getting paid regardless of what they do. They can go out there and play the worst game ever. They're still going to be financially backed by their wage. I just don't know if there's enough players that actually even care about playing for this club. That's where we're at with it.
Yeah, which is a very depressing thought, isn't it? We'll try and end off, I was going to say positive, but at least not as negative. We also saw a couple of debuts yesterday. Cornelius comes on at halftime. JB, what did you think of him? Again, it's a hard game to come into. Maybe it's obviously against one of the stronger teams in the league, but for me, he was pretty comfortable, albeit he didn't have a great deal to do. Were you at least impressed slightly by him?
Yeah, I think he kind of done what I expected in terms of really good balance on the left foot. Seemed to get close to his man, which I like to see, which I don't think many of our other centre halves can do. Didn't always look for the easy pass. Tried to split the lines a couple of times. I think his first one we give away, and we thought heart and mouth stuff. Was unlucky with one of the couple of the corners he really threw himself. He could have had a goal on another day. So again, what a different day it could have been if that goal was allowed. And then momentum swings, and then you remember, it was him that got us back into it. Not quite Cedric Itten vibes in the 55 season, but you know what I mean. But again, I think he's going to be fine. I think everything looks good. I watched them really closely against Wales with a couple of difficult characters who he was up against, and obviously out with the free kick, he strolled it. He just looked like he was really good ability. As I say, the balance piece I think is massive for us. John Suter can't play on the left hand side anyway, so therefore him being released away from that position is just a massive bonus anyway. So the fact he's coming, I think he's going to be good, and I'm quite looking forward to seeing how he goes.
I was quite annoyed to not see him start yesterday, and I know he's new to the club. He's been away on international duty, so maybe isn't up to speed tactics wise, which is probably a good thing the way some have gone. But when you mentioned obviously Jigger's been away and been travelling, and then he's just came in, that just doesn't seem good management at all, does it? I mean, we're doing all this tipping around the fact that Manuel Fernandes has been around the training ground for the last couple of weeks. He's not been anywhere, and yet he's doing the Edmonton House pre-show thing. That's just, that transfer gets weirder by the minute, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, as I say, he's kicking around with Broxy Bear, and we've got games to win. Do you know, like it's madness. It's one of them things. I was speaking to somebody this morning and referenced the remember the iceberg from last season somebody released, where it was almost a case of all of the things that went wrong. You could build the Antarctic with what's gone wrong in the first 8 weeks here, and he's just another name that goes onto that list. Let's say one thing we'll have to do before the end is dig into Stuart and Thelwell. And probably go through that.
Yes.
That would probably be Tuesday's pod, to be fair, because we're probably not going to be talking about new managers. So you might want to keep that one up the sleeve. But in terms of that, yeah, I think he's going to be good. I think the quicker we can move to a back three, is the way to go, because we have to stop conceding goals. Don't get me wrong, we'll probably just have more 0-0s, but if we can start going into games where we look solid at the back, because every time a team attacks us, I think, and I don't know, there's fan bias there and recency bias, but every time a team attacks us, they look like they're going to score. It's not as if you think about back again, I feel as if all the talk about the 55 season as a reference point. We went 9 games without a shot on target against us. Do you know what I mean? This team can't go 9 minutes. And it's genuinely throughout the game. That's a genuine fact. You know, like it's just madness. So yeah, no. But back to the original question, I think he'll be a good signing.
Like, there's some positivity. You know, we're getting there. It took us 52 minutes, but we're getting there. Tommy, the other debut was obviously Chermiti up front. Likewise, a tough game to come on to when you're absolutely relied on to try and get a goal. But kind of like Majowski so far, he just never got any service at all. Never got going in any way, did he?
Ian, like you said, when he backed into that guy and won that foul, I thought, what a player. We've got a real gem here, you know. No, I don't think he was on for long enough for us to really see what he's about, you know. I don't know. I think is he worth 8 million based on what we saw yesterday? No. Will he become worth 8 million? I don't think so either. But it does seem like a weird signing from obviously he bought him at Everton, so that's kind of, I've got my suspicions about that one, really, to be honest, at this stage. But I need to see more of him before we really get a comment on it, really, to be honest. Because
it's a very good point. I'm just coming across you a little bit because obviously we touched on Thelwell and Patrick Stewart and the ego. Is that maybe why they're not sacking Russell Martin? But then you've mentioned that, and he's buying a player that he's bought, failed with, and is now bought again. And don't get me wrong, okay, we're not going to sit and judge Chermiti in 25 minutes. He's a big lump of a guy. He's a lot bigger than I thought he was. He looks like he can certainly handle himself in the box, which can be a threat hopefully going forward. But a couple of little alarm bells before he'd even kicked the ball. And again, yes, I don't think done too much there. I guess rounding off back to Thelwell and Stewart. We know he's not going to get sacked just now. That's came out today. That's a whole podcast in itself of what's going on there. But do you think it's just starting to lose trust, Tommy, on Thelwell and Stewart in terms of if they're not sacking him, if they're making a couple of questionable signings and Fernandes and Chermiti? These guys are sort of running the club in a way. All the sort of things that we deeply care about in terms of the product on the pitch, the guys coming through the door, and what we're going along to Ibrox to see. Yes, it's Russell Martin, absolutely, but it's also very much down to Stewart and Thelwell. Me personally, I'm losing a lot of faith in them very quickly. I'm sure you're the same.
I think like everybody at the club right now has to take accountability, from top all the way down to bottom. Like and I'm pretty sure not that long ago we had a review of things to do, not an external review of how we were run.
Yep.
And yet again, is this the outcome of that? Is this where we're at now after having that? Is this what the improvement is meant to be? I don't have any faith in them, but the Fernandes signing, I would maybe get that if the boy was 18, 19, but he's 24. We're spending £3 million player on a project player. He's 24 years old. He's not, that's not considered young anymore, is it? I wouldn't say that's, you're coming to the kind of like midpoint into your career. So, and yet again, I think we shot too much in the championship as well. So, I think everybody at every stage of this club, and that's down to the players as well. Like JB said earlier, the players have to take responsibility too. Everyone has to be accountable right now for what's going on at the club. Nobody should be safe.
Yeah, absolutely. JB, again, we'll try to bring some kind of positivity. We've obviously mentioned the Hibs game next week, and we'll talk about that a lot more in the Tuesday and Thursday pods. Obviously, try to kind of, we'll calm down a little bit by then. Hopefully, we might start. I was going to say looking forward to Ibrox again, but what you're going to want to see just now, as I touched on there, the actual product on the pitch, it's been bad before. You think of the Michael Beale game when Aberdeen tore us apart. Clermont had a couple of games as well towards the end that were just rotten to watch, but that first half, especially yesterday, it doesn't exactly make you especially, I'm putting this to you because you make such a journey to get up, a lot of money involved to then get yourself up, get back down, the hotel stays, all this kind of stuff. But how do you try and keep motivation that this could be like next weekend could be a win? Maybe we win that game and go through in the cup, but I don't think anyone expects that right now, do we?
No, definitely not. I'm just going to throw a WhatsApp. I'm going to create a WhatsApp room at the Thelwell's entitled to 10% of the sell-on clause from Everton. So I'll see if I can get that one getting a bit of traction, given that's how we communicate nowadays. But in terms of looking for something to be excited for. Don't get me wrong. I'll wake up on Saturday morning and be looking forward to go again. It is just the nature of the beast. But I think in terms of they're not giving us anything. There's been so many domestic games this season where I've gone, I cannot see any positives. I think, and that's horrendous for me, because even as bad as things have been over the last few years, I might sound it tonight, but I try to look I try to be quite positive about things and try and go, well, play devil's advocate. Like in terms of, well, what about this? What about that? I even tried it at Hilly with Russell Martin, and I was just sitting inside my head shaking, in terms of the refereeing decisions and stuff. But I think in terms of, it's just going to have to be a night and day performance. And do I think this manager has got the ability to do that? No. He's going to have to do something next week that goes against his complete principles. And it's whether
I think he's kind of done that in a way already. And again, sorry to cut across you, but if you look at the first few games and we're passing out from the back and it's all very safe and trying to entice the teams on us, which Scottish football is not built to do. Whereas since he's got this 4-2-3-1, like, I didn't quite see that yesterday. I didn't see Sewer hanging on to the ball for ages and waiting. But I just then don't see what we're doing instead. It's therefore just doing nothing. Like, players don't know what they're doing.
And that's it. There's nothing to get grasp onto to go, at least we're trying to find the wingers. We've got wingers that just want to go inside. Antman got one-on-one with his fullback 3 or 4 times yesterday and drove inside. He can't use his left foot. The shot was pathetic. That he put in, the one that I think it might have took a deflection. He should have cut in onto his left foot and drilled that hard and low, and it could have went anywhere. But it was like, genuinely, if you'd have put a traffic cone there, it would have hit the traffic cone. It was that straight down the keeper's throat. So he's going to have to do. I think it's going to be more drastic than not playing out from the back. I think he's going to have to go with a 3-5-2. I think he's going to have to get another centre half in there to make us a little bit more physical. Because they'll be physical next week. Sound like McCloyster, make no mistake about it. And then I think the midfield's going to have to be more dynamic, and it's going to need more energy in there.
Needs a Raskin, ironically enough, doesn't it? It needs that kind of in-your-face type player. But
it needs
again,
that.
There's another pod in itself.
It needs that type of player. Now, whether Nico Raskin deserves to be in the Rangers start 11 because of his antics off the pitch, then that's, again, we're not privy to all of the information. But the kind of snippets you hear is he hasn't been the wholly innocent in all of this. However, we do know that one thing this manager's got to do is get his best starting 11 onto that football pitch, and he's got to start winning games. And I think a really difficult opposition next week is it's going to be really interesting. It was one when the draw come out, I thought, oh, I'll look forward to that one because I think it'll be a really good game. Do you know, like, I'm not saying it's all firm vibes, but it's almost a case of it'll be, especially with it being an evening kickoff as well, it'll be quite lively. The fans will probably have a few bevies before it, so they'll be up for it that little bit
There is
more.
any there.
Yeah. What bevies? So
May not be many there.
But no, but you again, it's going to be a really interesting one. I think you could put 20,000 extra fans on the gate if the manager gets changed this week. I think that's kind of a gimme. Now, I don't know if somebody does the maths in terms of how much does that go towards everything else that happens, but the amount of people that have the money's gone out the bank, I've heard of dozens of people who the money's gone out the bank on the CCCS. I don't think you need to swipe to get your 5 MyJays points. So because you bought your ticket through the club scheme, so therefore just write off the £23, £25, whatever it is. Don't have the journey costs. I know lads that cost them £100 for a home game at least in travel, just to get up there. And again, I'm not kind of advocating the fact that you want to kind of stop supporting your team because you support them through thick and thin. But I think we've shown over the years that we'll do that. Do you know what I mean? And I think we've had worse players than this, because that was one of the things. We've had worse players, but I can't recall being as disconnected to the way that we are playing at the moment. The nearest I've probably been is Aris away. When I came out to that ground, I was done with every single one of them. And then we actually went on to kind of turn it around a wee bit with when Clement eventually then came in post-Beal. But I think it's we're desperate. We're looking at everybody to play at their best in order for us just to be able to compete. It feels at the moment. We're not going to win any games in second year. So we're going to have to. It's going to need a shake. But we thought the shake was going to come after Bruges. We thought the shake was going to come after Motherwell. We thought the shake was going to come after the boost from the Old Firm that will then carry on, and it's just not. So again, as you said, Tommy said, every Rangers fan I've spoken to have said it's a matter of when rather than if when it comes to the manager.
Yep, no, I think we'll leave on that happy thought. Just crept over there. Obviously, thanks so much for the comments. It's been flying in tonight as expected. Plenty of people watching. If you can, subscribe and like. We always appreciate that. I'm just going to leave this comment here for any gamblers from Fraser B that Hibs are 16-5 for next week. So there we go. Don't say we're not good to you. But no, thanks for joining us tonight. We'll be back on Tuesday and Thursday again just to recap this and talk more. But I hope to see you there. Thanks for tonight. Cheers.